to this, quote, "Do we actually know who told Hillary she could use a private email? Has that person been drawn and quartered? The whole thing is blanking insane."
Here's a family that made $250 million and never really had a job other than giving speeches.
Well, you sort of wonder how that happens. So here's one specific example of how all the people in the Clinton constellation have become so rich. So several years ago, AreThe, which is a major defense contractor and a good company, was hoping to sell some of its products, some of its weapon systems abroad. In order to do that, they needed permission from the State Department, the Hillary Clinton State Department. So in order to get that permission, what did they do? They hired a woman called Heather Podesta. She was married to Tony Podesta, there she is right there, who was the brother of John Podesta, who's, of course, one of Hillary Clinton's closest aides. They hired someone close to that man in order to get to Hillary.
That man right there used to be chief of staff for President Clinton, and then he worked for Hillary Clinton. He actually works for her now. Right, and works for her now. He's head of her campaign. So they hired his sister-in-law to get into the State Department so that they could get this multi-million-dollar contract. And how much was the contract? It was, I mean, multi-million-dollar contract.
Multi-billion.
Over $25 billion. Now, I think about $19 billion of it went to the country of Qatar to buy, in addition to a bunch of other things, some Apache attack helicopters. Sure. They wanted to buy them and needed the permission of the U.S. government to do that. So at the same time that Raytheon was hiring basically a relative of Clinton's former chief of staff, the country of Qatar, the Gulf monarchy, was giving $1 million to Bill Clinton. Right. You know that from the other email. So money was coming from both sides to get this deal done.
And they wanted to give it to him for his birthday.
Yeah.
And they just wanted 5 minutes to talk to him.
Yeah, I wonder why they did that. But here's the point. When Trump says we're going to drain the swamp, you know, you can dismiss that. It's real. It is a swamp. This is the swamp he's talking about. It's people selling influence before your government. I mean, they're subverting the whole deal. It's corrupt.
And you live in Washington. How you say
I know all
this
these
happens
people,
all the time?
It's good. All the mandates in Obamacare, by the way, how do you think they got there? They got there because someone paid to put them there.
So do you think we're just connecting these dots? Okay, so the former sister-in-law of John Podesta, and they wound up getting all this money and all these contracts happened. Well, what happened as soon as Hillary Clinton left the State Department and the influence of John Podesta went away? What happened? They fired the lobbyist relative of John Podesta.
Everybody, if you see a well-connected person in Washington, look at the family tree, and there is likely a lobbyist in there trading off the fame.
This is why Trump is doing so well.
Exactly. It's
because
corrupt.
People are sick and tired of the establishment. And these are all of our tax dollars. You work very hard to put food on the table for your family, and this is extremely important.
Fox News first broke the story that Hillary Clinton herself had solicited a $12 million donation for the Clinton Foundation from the King of Morocco, and Huma Abedin suggested in an email that it was pay to play by bluntly declaring the money was given on the condition that Clinton had to go to Morocco to host a foundation event and give a speech. She later backed out, but Bill and Chelsea Clinton went in her place. The New York Times finally today following up on that story a week later. But as you say, more damaging emails from former Clinton intimate Doug Bann. He lays out how Bill Clinton lined his own pockets by steering donors for the Clinton Foundation to hire him for speeches and consulting. Look at this 2011 memo revealing the plan, quote, yielded more than $30 million for him personally, with $66 million to be paid out in years ahead. Another incredible revelation we learned today, even the top two officials in Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign were kept in the dark on the full extent of her email scandal by either the candidate herself or others in the inner circle. When the story first broke in the New York Times, campaign chair John Podesta wrote to Robbie Mook, quote, did you have any idea of the depth of this story? Mook, the campaign's manager, responded, nope. We brought up the existence of emails in research this summer, but we're told that everything was taken care of. That came as the New York Times posted its very first story, March 2nd, 2015. All about Clinton's use of a personal email account as Secretary of State, a dramatic sign that the potential next commander-in-chief shares critical information with only a couple of trusted advisors like Abedin. All of this secretiveness that was too much for liberal activist Neera Tanden. She wrote to John Podesta about the email scandal in the summer of 2015, quote, it's like the whole thing is bleeping insane. And that honest admission comes at the same time, remember, Clinton herself and her aides in the summer of 2015 kept telling us this is not a big deal, there's nothing to see here, move on. Even Neera Tanden, one of her top advisors, was saying it was insane, Sean.
Yeah, and by the way, we got to remember your question. You said, did you have your server wiped clean? And she goes, Ed, you mean like with a cloth?
Yeah.
Well, we now know it was bleach bit and acid wash.
Thousands of emails
But I wanted to go, this whole thing is bleeping insane. The one individual you quoted as saying also, I was told everything was taken care of. Being taken care of kind of fits into the bleach bit narrative that they wiped it out, that they eliminated it and got rid of the problem. Isn't that almost an admission, potentially, of guilt? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, weren't those emails all subpoenaed by that point?
Well, they were subpoenaed right after that point, we should say. So Robbie Mook, the campaign manager, having this conversation, as the New York Times broke the story March 2nd. Trey Gowdy issued the subpoena, I believe, 2 days later, March 4th, 2015. So, yes, it's happening all in the same time period, but maybe he was referring to the idea that he went to Hillary Clinton, what's going on with the emails, and she said, oh, everything's fine, or maybe Huma Abedin said that. We simply don't know. Did they suggest they deleted them? We don't know. Did they suggest that maybe, look, there's nothing to see here, it's not a big deal, Robbie, just don't worry about it, and then he moved on to other issues. It shows you, though, that Hillary Clinton wasn't just dodging the press. She was maybe dodging her own campaign manager. When someone does that, it suggests they have something to hide.
See, Chairman Reince Priebus is reacting to these new revelations about how Bill Clinton is making all of this money by saying, quote, this memo is the smoking gun for how the Clintons use their foundation to create a massive for-profit, paid speaking, consulting business, all to enrich themselves. How does this not get picked up? How is this not Watergate in the minds of the rest of the media?
Well, it's beginning to get picked up. You know, I think somebody pointed out that on Morning Joe, they spent 13 minutes attacking the Clintons this morning. Now, that's unheard of. That's a breakdown in elite media discipline that is hard to imagine.
All right, a lot of big stories to get to this morning.
This Clinton Inc. thing has just exploded.
Okay,
Donations to the foundations. Hold on,
this is huge.
Look at this. New York Times, donations to the foundation vexed top Clinton aides.
Wall Street Journal.
And you know, the interesting thing about this is it verifies,
Washington
I think,
Post.
what you said yesterday, that Philippe and everybody were absolutely horrified what they had gotten themselves involved into, that they walked into this campaign with all this. And I guess Philippe at one point said, there is no fixing this. There is no quick fix.
There's no good answer.
There is no good
Bill
answer.
Clinton Inc.
Bill Clinton, the Washington Post article is absolutely fascinating.
Let's go through it.
On Bill Clinton. $66 million to him personally. They are like, and they're bragging.
Do you think they're hiring?
Eddie, they're bragging.
$66 million.
They're bragging in the memo that they can shake down the same corporations that they're taking foundation money for, that they can shake them down for $66 million for, quote, Bill Clinton Inc., for Bill and Hillary Clinton personally. Does that confirm what you and a lot of Clinton skeptics that supported Bernie Sanders were worried about all along?
Well, it's certainly, yes. You know, it's really interesting. This was initiated by Chelsea Clinton. Right. Chelsea Clinton went to the family's attorneys and said she was worried that Doug Band was, quote, hustling, that he was hustling business and funneling it into her father.
And the timing is when her name went on the foundation. I think when she had a bigger role.
And does anybody in America believe that Doug Band, Mika, would be doing anything that Bill and Hillary Clinton didn't want Doug Band to do?
No, I know. This all starts with Bill Clinton, and I also think it's one of those situations when you really look at this, and we'll get through it point by point, you have to wonder about being careful about throwing stones. Because I love the way everyone calls the Trumps, you know, sleazy, trashy, whatever, because of a picture and money that they take from one company and give to another as a donation as opposed to their own money, all legal, but still, like, they consider it trashy and sleazy. And you call this ethically challenged. It's just so funny that elegant words are used for the Democrats.
Let me help. This is sleazy, and everybody knows it's sleazy. You're trading in public service while somebody is Secretary of State.
Larger amounts of money, and the world is used, as opposed to
you're shaking down the world for $66 million instead of a Rolex watch or a life-size portrait.
And the Clintons and the foundation bearing their name are facing fresh scrutiny over extremely blurred lines between the organization and the family's multi-million-dollar fortune. The revelation stems from the latest release of emails by WikiLeaks, allegedly hacked from the personal account of Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, John Podesta. A purported 2011 memo from longtime aide to former President Bill Clinton, Doug Band, lays out extensive fundraising efforts by him and his company, Teneo, on behalf of the Clinton Foundation and the Clintons personally. The Washington Post reports that Band, quote, detailed a circle of enrichment in which he raised money for the Clinton Foundation from top-tier corporations such as Dow Chemical and Coca-Cola that were clients of his firm, while pressing many of those same donors to provide personal income to the former president. The memo, which came during Hillary Clinton's time as Secretary of State, goes on to discuss how that works for the foundation, how that work for the foundation could be used to extract large speaking fees and other paid work for the former president, even referring to the operation as Bill Clinton Incorporated. The Post adds that the contracts for the Clintons would pay out $66 million over 9 years if the deals remained in place. Eddie's shaking his head, so I'm wondering if there are new words coming from him. Like, damn. Exactly. Part of the memo allegedly reads, independent of our fundraising and decision-making activities on behalf of the foundation, we have dedicated ourselves to helping the president secure and engage in for-profit activities, including speeches, books, and advisory service engagements. In support of the president's for-profit activity, we also have solicited and obtained, as appropriate, in-kind services for the president and his family for personal travel, hospitality, vacation, and the like.
Nicole, what do you think? How bad is this?
Well, it's not good. And I think it is.
Is that what they would say, like, if the Bushes did this?
Listen, the Bushes would never do this.
I know they wouldn't.
I think it's so interesting, the point Willie made, that this came about because Chelsea Clinton started asking questions. And one of the other revelations, I think, that came out before this story did was that she'd been called a spoiled brat. She doesn't sound very bratty to me. She sounds pretty insightful.
Mm-hmm. Van's memo was sent as part of a review.
Hold on. So Willie, how... This basically confirms everything that Ron Fournier has been saying for a year now. Follow the money. Source inside the Clinton camp. Oh, there it is. Follow the money, my Clinton source said in 2015. Follow the money. And it's trading in public service for hundreds of millions of dollars personally. Bro, what we certainly have here, though, is on the foundation side, the use of a foundation to make hundreds of millions of dollars for the Clintons. Now, I wonder, is the Attorney General of New York going to shut the Clinton Foundation down like he shut the Trump Foundation down? I mean, which from what I've seen, I think the Trump Foundation probably needed to be shut down. But those are just nickels and dimes compared to the money here. They're using this foundation, and they're bragging about using this foundation to make the Clintons hundreds of millions of dollars. Shouldn't the Attorney General of the state of New York launch an investigation and at least shut down the foundation like they did with the Trump Foundation until they learn more? Because there's so much more money involved here.
WikiLeaks, in this sense, is ripping the scar off of the largest amount of corruption in American history. This beats any prior corruption scandal I know of, including the 1868, the period where Grant was president, including the Harding administration, including some of the things that happened under Truman. None of those things are like this. This is the largest scandal affecting a senior American politician, I think, in the history of the United States. And it's, as you yourself just pointed out, you have Hillary Clinton clearly trading on the office of Secretary of State